It's important to incentivise farmers to carry out NFM measures because for a lot of farmers this is a really new thing.
Farmers always know where the water is on the land, the first port of call, and if you've got any issues, some of the NFM funding can help fix them.
Joined up thinking, I think, is the essence to what we're all trying to do, and if we can stop Leeds flooding, marvellous.
We believe that the more we put nature at the forefront of the business making decisions, the better that is for the business of the farm.
Across West Yorkshire, a whole range of independent partners are working together to improve flood resilience by adapting and changing catchment and land management practices. Part of this work includes implementing natural flood management measures, NFM, on that land. These experienced farm advisors are bringing their knowledge of NFM and are working with farmers and landowners to identify opportunities for natural flood management and other nature-based solutions by helping them to fund, design and implement measures.
I think the most important thing when farmers and landowners are looking to install NFM on their land is to find the right intervention for the right place. It has to fit with what the farm's doing and what the farm business aspirations are. If it doesn't work for the farm business, it's not going to work for that environment.
We've done 2 schemes where we've planted 30,000 trees over 70 acres. Also with our advisors, we've done quite a lot of leaky dams. There's 2 types, of the earth-bund type and there's the wooden type of leaky dams. And they work. I've seen them full of water after a severe flood. The trees, from a farmer's point of view, was the most beneficial because what we did, we took out areas of unfarmable land, basically valley sides and corners of field that were a nuisance for farming, and we planted them with trees, and it's worked well. Farm advisor, it's great because they understand where you are, they understand your area that you're working in, they know your neighbours because these schemes have all got to be linked up between one farmer to the next. It's okay sorting 50 acres in the upper air catchment that might be targeted, but it ain't a lot of use when there's probably 5,500 acres that needs covering, so there has to be a lot of joined up thinking, and they really are good mediators from going from one farmer to the other farmer, getting us all to work together for the common cause, and we trust them.
It's particularly important to incentivise farmers now because BPS is finishing basically, so a lot of upland farms in particular have relied on that income to make a business work, and without that they need to find other ways to bring money in and diversify and find other things to do. So now's a great time to be looking for that funding to replace your BPS payments. There have been a lot of funders that have helped out with making this site what it is today. So we've had help from the Yorkshire Farming and Wildlife Partnership, who are part of the Upper Air project along with the Wild Trout Trust. That's EA funding for environmental works. Help from the Yorkshire Dales Millennium Trust and from Nature Bid, which is another EA fund. So yeah, lots of separate pots have built the picture that's added up to all this. I'm really grateful to be in this catchment where the landowners are so on board with all of this stuff. They've got their various motivations, but the heart of it is there, that they want to be doing the right thing, they want to look after the landscape, and they're willing to join together to help us do it.
So on this farm we've carried out over 2 kilometres of hedgerow creation work, and hedgerows are amazing for creating a stop-proof barrier. They're really good for biodiversity and pollinators. They can slow the flow of water through the landscape, and they're really good wildlife corridors as well. So they have lots of functions, and they're a really good solution for farmers for shade, for stocking extremes of cold and summer as well. So they're a really good solution for lots of issues on the farm. We work as an honest broker in the catchment, so we work with the farmer to develop the best scheme for them and then match them up with the best funding opportunity really. Things like the fencing, fencing's between £10–15 a metre now, so it's not cheap at all. It's also kind of a temporary solution. So if we can develop things like we have on this farm where we've got new hedgerows developing, they can be laid in the future and form a stop-proof barrier which will remove the need for fencing in the future. So yeah, really that financial support is really critical to help the farmers develop the plans for the NFM projects and reduce flood risk downstream.
Working for a small environmental charity called the Wild Trout Trust. We're not an angling organisation, although we do think about things from a very fish-oriented perspective. But we're about habitat, creating habitat to make the watercourses around here suitable for a wild, sustainable population of trout. The benefits that we would bring from a habitat perspective obviously have wider ecosystem benefits for biodiversity, for natural flood management. I think the advice that I'd give to landowners looking to install NFM on their land is to think about the river or the channel or whatever size watercourse it is. In the first instance, the more we can store water, slow it down in the winter and make it available to be slowly released during the spring and summer is incredibly important with the way that our climate is changing. I think it's important to incentivise farmers to think about NFM on their land. Times are changing, the financial aspects of farming in the landscape are changing, the pressures on the land are changing, the pressures that we are introducing onto the land further down the system are changing. So I think we need to think to the bigger picture, both in space and in time, and make sure that the people that are doing this sort of work on their land are properly compensated for doing such.
Yeah, so just in general, we do a lot of work in terms of how we graze the land with cattle rather than sheep. We graze it in a very different way to what we used to do, and hopefully all of that is helping to soak up more and more water in the soil than we ever used to. And so that in itself just slows the water down and the amount of water and the speed at which water flows off the land, and hopefully as a result of that there's less flooding incidents lower downstream. But then we also get Jonathan in. He's trying to change how the channel flows in the actual river itself, and hopefully that makes a difference as well. So it's like a double two-pronged attack. I think the reason we first approached Jonathan is because we on the farm generally are trying to create habitats for nature. So we're trying to create more meadow life, we're trying to create more botanical species, and what fits into that as well is the habitat of the river as well. So and Jonathan is without doubt the professional in that, and so we approached him to see what we could do with the rivers that flow through the farm. You know, as I say, we are no experts in how water flows, we're not experts in wetland creation, the habitats that creates. So it's just really good to have somebody coming along and saying, this is what you need to do, this is how you do it, and then source the funding for that.
So leaky dams have been really successful on the sites where we've used them because they don't take up a lot of the productive land. They're placed on land which is kind of out of the way of agricultural production. So we're looking at cloughs in woodland, streams, which are usually the sides of fields. It's not taking space that can be used for the farm business to generate money. But when you put, say, 10 leaky dams in a stream, as we've done at this site, that together holds back quite a large amount of water, and it lets the water just trickle through at a nice steady rate, so it really holds back the flood peak hitting its highest point. So our water from these leaky dams is released after the flood peak has hit lower down. So that means that we can put these in all sorts of places all over the catchment with very little disruption. And they don't take a lot of time to put in, they don't take a lot of material to build, they're not expensive to put in, but they are really effective for what they do.
So we had quite a number of challenges on our land. We've got a lot of water flow coming in off the moorlands further behind us, and there's a lot of contamination coming in off those moors as well. As you can imagine, this is 1700s. We've got a lot of old pipework, so you can see that there's chemical reactions on the land. So we needed to see where the water was coming in the first place and what we could do to perhaps prevent that contamination going further down the land and into the streams at the bottom. And accessibility to the land as well. We're on a very steep farm. You know, just getting volunteers to come and work and help us put some more trees in, manage the tree lands, do the earth bunds. You know, it's brutal work. If anybody has any questions, approach the Rivers Trust and ask. You know, the information is there, and there's some great people who will share that information with you, and they will help you access what is available in terms of grants and what you can do to improve your land.